Hello to everybody out there. I know you're barely able to see me and stuff. But anyways, I wanted to go ahead and do this quick impromptu video. Whew, man, I got so much stuff that I have to clean off my cell phone tonight. But anyways, I want to go ahead and say that. Now look at my little crystals. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the light right now. About how white my eyes are. And I can't help but think to myself, I've come really far. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, here's what I mean. I know it's hard to see. Oh, what was that? I know it's very hard to see the little crystals, but I'll show them to you in the light. You know, my little crystals that I value and cherish and possess. It's one of my little citrine. It's one of my little, little green rocks. My, other stones are my most auspicious, ones that help me out the most. There's one of them, right here. That one has a strong quality, like when it shines in light. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and turn down the light in the fort here. But anyways, when I say that I've grown, I think back to going back to 2016, when I was living in my old apartment on Hauser Boulevard and Wilshire Boulevard, Hauser Boulevard and 6th Street. It was between Wilshire and 6th. One of my biggest concerns and one of my biggest desires was, first off, my biggest concern was at the time, what am I going to become? What am I going to do with my life? And at the time, I kept thinking within the confines of the matrix, like, oh, you need to get a job and make your parents proud, and you need to make a whole ton of money, and basically deviate from who I truly am, because I never really, cared for materialism, for materialistic, things. I never put a lot of stock into material possessions. I'm the total opposite when I think about it. When growing up, my parents weren't obsessed with materialism as well, but they were all about kind of like showing off. Like, oh, we brought the latest thing and we done surpassed our neighbors in terms of, material gains. And I never really cared about that. I'm the type of person, look at my tennis shoes. Let me see if I can grab them. But I'm the type of person to wear tennis shoes to the point where even if they have a hole in them, like one of my tennis shoes do now, I don't know why, but it's a thing for my tennis shoes to get holes in them. But even though that has a hole in it, I still wear it, even if it gets to the point where the tennis shoe is literally falling apart, I'll still wear it. A beautiful moon up there, by the way. Nice view, preview. Very nice view indeed. It's one of Chevy Suburbans. Men in Black pilots that, right? Men in Black. You have two different, from what I've seen and experienced, you have two different types of men in black. You got the ones that are etheric, that are not of our realm. And then you got the ones that are, suffice it to say, germane to our planet. In other words, indigenous, like humans and stuff. So, you got the material ones and you got the etheric ones. And I've seen the etheric ones and they're very white. And they appear from out the blue. They're not of this earth realm. But anyways, getting back to what I was talking about with regards to my old apartment, I was thinking to myself how one of my biggest concerns was at the time, what I was going to become, what I was going to be with my life. And, at the time, when I landed in the shelter and you heard me talk about getting into real estate, that was still me going on trying to satiate other people's expectations of me, like what people project. Like, in other words, trying to achieve success as defined by the matrix. And I would have people who were around me who now realize were a little toxic, MK Ultra Scent, who were kind of encouraging that, for a while. Like when I chose to live in my car, I would have a lot of people lambaste that and put that down, and it's like an attempt, because see, with the demiurge, who really truly does control this matrix system, what it does is that in order to keep you rooted to the earth, you see, they create all of these experiences where if you look at it from a linear, strictly human perspective, like for instance, people who look at their experiences and they're like, oh, I've went through this and I can't move on into the next life. See, when you have the overstanding that I do, like for instance, when that happened to me with the assault and stuff and everything, I didn't experience soul loss. I actually felt extremely emotionally energized, like extremely emotionally, how do I say this, stronger. I felt a lot stronger, spiritually, everything. And that's because I had an overstanding of everything that was going on and taking place around me at the time. Whereas most people would get caught up in, oh, this is happening, and they get caught up on the memories and the emotional cords that ties them to that event, that connects them to that event, and causes them sorrow and causes them regret and causes them to get their ego. It's really your ego that gets you wound up on that stuff, because your ego gets you caught up on, oh, you could have did this and you could have did that and you could have defeated him and you could have looked like this in the eyes of most people and you could have did this and see, those are the type of experiences where if you don't have an understanding of things, of everything that's going on around you, it's kind of like analogous to an ant who walks up an anthill and sees everything that's going on around it. Or you rather standing looking over an anthill and you see everything that's going on, but the individual ants down below can't really see what's going on. It's the same thing with me. For other people out there who don't have that understanding, that insightfulness, which I have, they have this tendency to get bogged down in the details and get caught up on the things that causes you to repeat your existence in this cyclical, what they call it, the reincarnation trap, reincarnation matrix, where because you get so caught up on human experiences and you can't see past that, and instead overstand things, everything for what it is, whereas most people end up just getting caught up on the ego. What happens is that you're doomed because of the emotional ties that you created by basically, in essence, when you think about it, worshiping those events like they're God. Like, you can't get past it. You end up succumbing to a trap where you end up in so many ways repeating that experience all over again. And what I mean by that is you get so eager to try to confront it again or do something that's going to allow you to get past it. You get so caught up on the human experience that you decide, oh, in my past life, like let's say, for instance, in your past life, you were poor. You hated it because you only saw it from a human perspective and not had a spiritual understanding of it. So as a result, you're like, in the next lifetime, I want to be rich and surpass everybody. So you come back and again, you repeat the karma of trouble where you go through that matrix system all over again and repeat the cycles of endless trauma and so forth and so on, which a lot of humans get caught up in, get subjected to. When you just look at things from the vantage point of seeing it as strictly, strictly from the vantage point of, oh, that's the human experience, and getting wound up on the details instead of overstanding everything. That's exactly what I'm trying to get at. So many people, what ends up happening is, since they can't see the forest for the trees, they end up coming back to this planet in which the archons basically design it as a trap to feed off of your loosh. In other words, loosh is what they refer to as all the negative energy that's caused as a result of all the traumas and so forth and so on that this matrix system imprints upon you, causes, wroughts upon you. Okay? Now, anyways, returning back to what I was saying before, the most important thing on my spiritual journey, now that I look back on it, in order to know the purpose behind why you're here, you need to know yourself. And that was one of my biggest main concerns. I had to detangle all the stuff, all the shit with Satanism and all of that. Take all of that back. Take all of that away. Release myself from that. All the archon spiritual influences and all. And unwrap myself. Where I came more into contact with my inner essence, my inner being, and started to know myself, know myself beyond, strict, because I was never a materialistic person, but I really became non-materialistic when I took a real spiritual journey. And see, through all the things that I've been through, the artist loft incident, the shit, going on with the LAPD, the recent assault that happened. See, I find and I appreciate as well that when you go through challenges, see, when your life is smooth, there's a reason why a lot of them rich kids commit suicide and all of that, because they don't have any challenges to help develop and further your soul. See, a lot of those people who are elites, they're not organic portals. Like most people who you see and meet out on the street, they're organic portals. A lot of people are. It's about like half of humanity who are organic portals. Like, for instance, all the stuff that I'm telling you right now, it would be lost upon them. That knowledge would be lost upon them. Okay? You got a lot of black people who are like that as well. Not to exclude them, but you have a lot of black folks who are conscious. Not to make it, about race and all that. But anyways, returning back to what I was saying before, that's why I'm like, I'm not trying to appeal to the masses. I don't want to. Because most of those people are organic portals. They're dumbed down. They're not supposed to even... This message can not only not reach them, they're not designed to hear it. It's kind of like telling a retarded child who's not equipped to be able to accept what you're saying. You cannot do it. It's impossible. You can't make it happen. They're not meant to compute it. So fuck them. Screw them. They're doomed. However, on the other hand, most of those kids who are part of the elites, see, a lot of those elites, they got souls. They may work with the archons to maintain their power by maintaining favor with them on this earth. That's why the Illuminati, they make deals with what you call shadow people, them dark-looking entities whose faces you can't see and so forth and so on. I just saw one pass right now, out the corner of my eye, right there. I don't want to put too much light on it because, the minute you acknowledge those things, they start to come for you. But anyways, they have souls. They're higher evolved. Well, in a way, they were higher evolved souls or meant to become higher evolved souls. But a lot of them, see, a lot of those people who join the Illuminati, they're like me. They're highly evolved souls who incarnated here to break the system of the Matrix. They were system busters originally. A lot of them were. And they end up joining forces with the dark side because it's just, for them, it's easier. Because, look at what they put me through. It's a lot easier to just join forces with them and start working with them rather than going against the grain and dealing with all the shit that they force, that they have pushed, against you. For instance, they're able to make, for a person who's incarnated like myself, who came here to spread the message, which I'm teaching to those with who can hear, with eyes to see and ears to hear. They make it doubly hard by fucking with our money. Now, monies are talismans. Those are facts. Those are talismans. A lot of people don't know about that. That's why they got, when you look at all these, when you Google these videos showing and talking about, they got this on the dollar bill right here. Look, they got a pyramid and da da da. Those are designed to put spells on people. You know, it's more than just money and you know, notes and so forth and so on. You know, what they call it, circulatory notes. It's more than just that. It's a lot more. It goes a lot deeper than that. They're basically meant and designed to enable the archons to use them as occult instruments. And that's why the Illuminati, starting with the Rothschilds, were pushing them through their central banking systems and so forth. Their talismans designed to give the archons leverage over system busters like me, like people who enter into the world designed to break their system, since the mode of survival is designed to circumvent around the fake fiat notes they call money, which are technically speaking debt notes, debt instruments, promissory notes. Basically, they can use that as a weapon against people like me and fuck with my money. That's why, for instance, a lot of people, when I've gone to a lot of tarot card readers, they'll tell me your soul is protected. Meanwhile, your money ain't. Your money's fucked up, and they'll tell me, oh, somebody's putting spells on you, somebody doing this and doing that. And that's them archons, because they got ways of knowing who's going to be a threat to their system and who ain't doing that shit. Sure, some outside the window just now. But anyways, that's the reason why they go after people who live off grid. People like, you know, homeless people, like the little people up there, even though they got like a little cop thing on the side of their car. Little chairs thing. Which kind of makes me wonder. I wonder if they are like undercovers on this trick, on the slick. That's why they go after homeless, you know, folks like me. Even though I'm kind of semi in the system. Because I don't live too far from the city. It's not like I got my own plot of land and stuff yet. You know, anything like that. And that's the reason why they go after a lot of free thinkers. You know, because just by being a free thinker, that's a threat. That's a threat to the system. To the archon system. They can't have you thinking, because the minute you think, you start to question. That's why they start to annihilate a lot of people with the RH negative blood types and so forth and so on. People who have spiritual gifts like myself. That's why they're trying to stunt that shit. They use archon enabled and engineered people to try to shut me down, shut my spiritual gifts down, shut my progress by throwing so much shit at me. But they don't realize it doesn't faze me, because I'm meant to go through it. You know, I was pretty much built to endure it. It's facts. Those are facts. That's why if you look at the criminal court system, now that I think about it, like especially out here, you know, because see, out here, there's a lot of archons, a lot of reptilians and stuff who live out here, who live out this way in California. As a matter of fact, go on my website and there's articles. There's 2 articles. I constantly provide them as links in my articles. One in which cites that there was a Santa Monica judge who a man witnessed was shapeshifting right before him into a reptilian. Then when he saw it and it knew that he saw her, she recused herself. In other words, removed herself from being a judge in that particular courtroom and recused herself somewhere else. They don't like it when you expose them. And right where you saw the video where there was all that creaking and stuff at the LA Union Square train station and all that bus depot, there lies a huge underground subterranean reptilian civilization. Those are facts. Look at those. I did an article about that. Look at all the ominous symbolism that they have at the Union Square LA metro station. They got the Saturn. You know, Saturn correlates back to alien worship, reptilian worship, I believe. Satan worship, darkness worship, like the shadow people, darkness. And then you got the Legua representation. You know, so a lot of them are they're you know, look at that dance that was done at CERN, where it featured things taken from Palo Mayombe, African spiritual systems. You know, the world is controlled, as somebody said before, by signs. in numbers as well. You know, see, you have to be deeply spiritual to know this. That's why I don't waste my time with dumb fucks. You know, when people come on here and they because I see my intuitive senses are heightened. So I can tell who's full of shit, who's coming on here to make trouble, who's on some dumb shit. And I run their asses right the fuck on clean off. I'm not going to tolerate your presence on here. I'm just going to fucking click the ban hand. I don't care how you come at me. If I see that there's something off, I'm running your ass off. I'm way past that whole trying to be understood and trying to be accepted. I didn't evolve way past that point. I'm far from that fucking point. A lot of these motherfuckers out here, they know it. That's why they feel threatened. But anyways, in our system, see, in this system, they feed off of what they call loosh. Now, they had a man who, loosh, by the way, is negative energy. Now, they had a man who wrote about Agenda 21. And how part of Agenda 21 is to basically victimize victims of crime. The reason behind why they do that is because, see, you have to understand, especially out here, this is what I was saying or trying to say before when I brought up reptilians in LA. A lot of these cops out here are reptilian controlled and possessed. And are they reptilians themselves? They got a deputy, for instance, a sergeant by the name of Sergeant, I forgot what the fuck his name is. That's a reptilian. He got the same eyes as Queen Elizabeth and everything. He looked like he half Mexican and half white. Same eyes, got a country accent. Fucking redneck reptilian. Straight up there at the fucking Lost Hill Sheriff Station. They all operate from a hive mind. Now, the reason behind why I'm saying that, you know, also there's another officer, now that I think about it, with the LAPD. He got some odd-ass eyes, like his eyes don't close. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I almost kind of get like I don't want to say organic portal about this man, but something strange about him. Maybe alien or something, some type of alien species, but just, it's not reptilian. I don't think he's a reptilian. I don't get a reptilian sense from him because he comes off as like caring and all of that, but there's something weird about him. You know, you're going to see him in my most recent article. But, see, you know, a lot of people be asking, why is it that the police go after, you know, people who commit, you know, so-called criminals who commit victimless crimes like prostitution and all of that, and drug dealing, drug selling, which is just basically designed to help you survive in an already evil, fucked up ass system. Why do they go after those people rather than the real crooks who cause a lot of fucking harm and trauma and trouble? For instance, you know, gangsters who go out shooting innocent fucking families whole for no reason whatsoever. Or people, you know, like people who are at the top with them fucking cartels. They be doing shit for years and they'll run after them. The reason behind that is because the real criminals are actually doing what the archons, what this reptilian-based system wants them to do, which is commit real crimes that creates negative energy through the trauma it inflicts that feeds them the loosh that's requisite for these reptilians to survive. In other words, these real criminals commit real fucking crimes that inflicts the trauma and therefore gives off the negative energy onto which these reptilians drive upon. I just heard someone say, shut up right now. You shut the fuck up. Nah, look at this kid. That sounds schizophrenic by saying that, but it's true. It's facts. Whereas on the other hand, they just inflict more trauma on people who commit so-called victimless crimes who are just trying to survive in the system. See, when you're disconnected from the grid and you're able to think for yourself, because not everybody who lives out of their car and stuff are really disconnected mentally and emotionally off the grid. Most people are still connected to it. It's these people that you see who are dependent upon the system for making a name for them and accepting them and being reintroduced back into fucking society because they don't know how to define themselves outside the matrix system. They need that job title to define them. You know, I remember years ago when I used to work as a sex worker, they had this Hispanic guy. I guess he was ashamed of his beginnings and all of that as a Hispanic person growing up. He kept making it a point to tell me, I'm an engineer. Like, I really give a fuck. He kept saying that to me in the email. I didn't want to see him simply because of that. Like, who gives a fuck if you're an engineer? Okay, great. Want a pat on the back? It's like he's trying to prove, due to his own insecurity, that he's intelligent and that he's worthy of people's approval rather than going inside of himself and accepting himself. That's the reason why, in part, so many, because a lot of it's really fucking archons that's coming after me. They hate it because I know myself. You can't take that away from me. You can do so much. I'll never forget when I got, the second time I got arrested for that artist loft shit. Because the first time they tried to put it as a felony, claiming assault with a deadly weapon, calling a can of pepper spray, which was the alleged weapon that they alleged that I used, calling it a deadly fucking weapon. I mean, that goes to show you the fucking, I think technically speaking, that falls under abuse of process. But the second time they brought me in, I remember that Whitney Houston song that I used to hear as a little child growing up, where she sings, what was the name of that song? The greatest gift. I can't really sing. But I remember hearing that on the bus, and it was something about some of the lyrics of the song that, you know what? It wasn't that. I don't think it was that. It was when that fucking bastard, Deputy Theme, that's an evil motherfucker. He got something evil attached to his ass, because he gave me the most nefarious, evil ass look. When he parked his little fat ass in that fucking Meridian that fucking day, he gave me the most evil, just nefarious ass look. Like, bone chilling ass look. Just evil. So much evil emanated from him. So much. But I remember some of the lyrics were standing out to me. Which was that people can put you through a whole lot of things, but they cannot take you away from knowing yourself. They can't take that away from you. And for me, that's true in my case. They can't take that away from me. And that's the thing that pisses them off, the most. They can't take that away from me. My knowing, my knowledge of self. That's one of my biggest concerns. When I first left that apartment building, I wasn't concerned about on the surface, superficially, I was concerned about, materialistic things, because I already found, what I thought was this newfound power with Satanism, but then I started learning to myself, that shit doesn't fulfill me. Even in my past life, you can read my account about my past life in my most recent article. That was a past life. I was a blonde-haired little rich white girl who had two doting, very super wealthy parents. I'm thinking back in the 1900s, because now that I think about it, it's funny because a lot of my visions, they're symbolic as well. And it seemed like they gave me the gift of a telephone, because that's basically connoting to the notion that a telephone was a novelty in that past life that I had. So in other words, this had to have been the 1900s. Yet I was wearing 80s attire to symbolize that that's me, because the outfit that I saw the little girl wearing was indicative of the outfit that I always wore all throughout my childhood when I was a little girl in the 80s growing up. And I got the feeling that it was showing the 80s, but it was a juxtaposition between two different eras. But back then, even in that past life, I really didn't value money. And in that past life as well, I ran away with an old white man who looked like Colonel Sanders, an old white professor. Some people thought that I committed suicide, and I think I feigned it just so I could run off with him. I don't really know. I would have to do a lot more looking into that past life. And it's funny too, a little blonde-haired white boy today came and asked me about my being topless and all that shit. The other little video that I did was kind of fucking funny. The one with them shares. Sheriff was a trip. But anyways, going back to being more serious now, I started thinking about how I'm so highly appreciative that I'm here and I'm at this point where I know myself. And that to me is the greatest amount of wealth that you can have, is to know yourself. Because so many people are walking out here, around here, who got all the fucking things, that's why when you hear about all these little kids committing suicide who are wealthy, because they're not fulfilled. They're not getting enough in terms of challenges. They're not fulfilled. When your soul is not fulfilled, unless you're an organic portal, because organic portals don't have souls. People who are organic portals, they don't have souls. They're soulless humans walking around. They're pretty much, practically speaking, organic robots, robotoids. You got them of every color, stripe, and everything. That one young lady who commented on here, Charjay, no offense, I think you one of them. You know, I mean, when I told you the overstanding of what's happening in the context of what's going on with me, it just, I think it went way over her head. She's not capable of comprehending it. She couldn't even respond. See, that's why I can deal with my enemies a lot better than I can deal with people who come out and be nice, because a lot of those people, they have ulterior motives. Not all of them, but a lot. You know, a lot of them are consent. So I have to be very careful and filter them out and, you know, be very careful, really careful. You know, I told her the context of everything that's happening and how I can't do certain things like other people can. You can't hold me to the same standard that you can other people. She didn't respond. You know, like, oh, she just came here to say that little comment and that was about it, not overstand or sympathize or anything. She was just a robo-toy sent by the archons to make that comment. That was it, and that's all, and I recognize that. I see that for what it is. But I'm going to be honest with you, one of my biggest concerns after leaving that apartment is knowing who I am. And what mission, what I came here to this earth to fulfill. Again, that's the reason why you see so many people walking around who are unfulfilled, because, see, material possessions don't really do a whole lot for you. You know, it's kind of the equivalent of how I would react, you know, after Christmas, once I've had a toy that I claimed I always wanted. Once I had it, I got bored with it. It's like, okay, you know, the fun of trying to acquire it is done with and over with. You know, there's really no point. Or better yet, another good analogy would be that Twilight Zone episode where you had that man who thought he had died and gone to heaven. He was a thief when he was alive. And so when he had died and gone to heaven, he thought that he was in heaven because he got whatever he wanted. Soon he became bored. He explained, hey, at the end of the day, the existential problem of this is that I'm getting whatever the fuck I want. There's no challenges that's set into it. None. Looks creepy, by the way, that reflection right there. I don't know if y'all can see that. Looks mad creepy. And if that's my cell phone, I wouldn't create that. You know, by the way, it's facing this, so shouldn't even be creating that reflection. Looks like a face in the rock. But, the light thing behind me is so creepy. But as I was saying before, you know, material possessions don't, you know, if you're a soul human, material possessions won't fulfill you. Now, if you're an organic robotoid, they will, because you don't have a soul. And that's the reason why, I mean, that's why I listen to them fucking people, because they're basically engineered to want what the demiurge wants you to do, which is not to advance your soul, but rather to get hung up and caught up on carnal material things. That's why when all of these people were talking about this, oh, you know, your living arrangement, you live out of your car. Even Veritas, I noticed, like, through some whatchamacallit ad at one time. All of those people, you know, in her case, I think she MK Ultra. I have nothing against them. But a lot of those people are Archon sent. They're Archon sent, meant to, in a sense and in many ways, veer you off your path and make you think that being outside the matrix is somehow a bad thing. That to be outside of its matrix is a bad thing. Because, see, after all, even the great Bobby Hemmett once said, and to quote him as well, that the demiurge loves your body but hates your soul. And that's a fact. Those are facts. Your soul means that you can not only spiritually advance beyond here, but you can go into the astral and make all the shit that you see on earth. The astral, in many respects, is a replica of what you see here on earth. That's how meaningless all this material possession shit is. It's meaningless. Just heard something say, shut up, just now. Shouldn't be acknowledging that shit. But, anyways, again, it's meaningless. You know, all this fake ass shit that people try to put on and be something that they're not. To be valued by the people who value the things that are made within the matrix. You know, fake ass, you know, insincere politeness and all that. Just all that shit's negativity. Loose designed to feed this archon machine. Shit that's designed to keep you from questioning anything. Because when you're nice, basically, nice to me is the opposite of good. Nice is like fake goodness. You're just a doormat. You're allowing yourself to be a doormat and just to get along with people, rather than shaking them up and making them question things. That's exactly what the demiurge does not want you to do. The demiurge does not want you questioning things. Break outside of its matrix scheme system. It wants you to value what's in its system. Esteem it. View it as God. That's why the dollar bill, it says, in God we trust. It's trying to refer to that dollar bill, that material possession, as God. Sure, if we're going to live in this matrix, we need it to survive. But at the same fucking time, it's, that's why that's why you hear so much propaganda in rap, where they're encouraging these kids nowadays, make it your God. And notice, see, like everything else that the Illuminati does, they pervert everything that's good into evil. Rap originally started as a good art form designed to raise the kids up out of the ghetto, get kids thinking, make kids think. Make kids become something of themselves, even if it's beyond the matrix, like a Malcolm X. Next thing you know, it's done fucking degraded into bitches and hoes and wealth and money. And that's a whole nother fucking topic there, the way it degrades women. And rock did that too in the 80s. So, you can't put too much shit on hip hop. Rock was nefarious for that fucking shit. They were terrible. A lot of that has to do with destroying the image of the woman so as not to empower us. And so as not to empower the divine feminine, the very thing that lives within inside of all of us, the very thing in which Jesus Christ referred to as the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God lives within you. The divine feminine lives within you. All of us, both male, female, woman and child, man, everybody. Black and white, everybody. Those are facts. That's true. That's a whole nother article for a whole nother time. Whole nother thing for a whole nother time. See, I feel like information like that is very vital to get out there. And that's the type of information that they be coming after my ass for revealing. I reveal way too much and I don't really give a fuck. Now, anyways, with that said, should I say a lot in this whole monologue here? I feel like I've done come a long way. I'm very comfortable. I'm very content. Again, I don't put a lot of my value system in the matrix. And I've had archon possessed people, try to guilt trip me and shame me into living according to the tenets and death styles, as I call it. The aspects of the matrix. Oh, you got to be this, and oh, it's a shame you live out of your car and you live free and, you walk around topless. Those are designed to be shots taken in a poor effort to try to tear down my self-esteem, to make me feel guilty for not wanting to conform to this evil beast matrix, deadly, anti-spiritual, anti-soul system. That's exactly what the fuck that means. And the person's archon possessed who said all that shit. Those are facts. That's why I get so much pushback, and I take it as a compliment. Again, I was put on this earth to deal with it, so it doesn't faze me. Again, I've never been, even in my past lives. Again, read my most recent article where I talk about it. I was never one for material comfort or material things. I ran away with an older man in my past life where I came from an extreme. I had extremely wealthy parents. I came from them and still ran away. That shit has never done anything for me. Not in that life, not in this one. I don't value that shit like that. And see, those are the first steps towards real, true, I don't even want to call it freedom, but knowing yourself. Knowing yourself is the key to fulfilling your true life purpose. Because see, when you get caught up on trying to live up to other people's expectations, be it your parents, anybody, and holding up other people's value systems and esteem, that's how a lot of people lose themselves and never even find themselves, because you grow up thinking that, you got to live according to this way and that way. and never even try to begin the search of finding yourself and finding out who you are, why you're here. You know, that's why a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm a loser, or something like what happened to me recently happens to somebody else. Like, let's say if it's, some so-called soccer mom who's had a so-called easy life, where the only thing she's thinking about is baking bread. She comes upon an incident like that, and she feels like it's done shamed her, like it's done taken her away from who she is. That's because she never knew who she was in the first place. She defined herself according to other people's values. If she esteemed herself personally, it wouldn't bother her. A lot of times it bothers those type of people because they define it as, oh, in my world, I wouldn't face that in my world. When they say in their world, they mean in their sphere. Their sphere of fake ass phony friends who live according to a certain social stature, social status, where everybody acts the same and is on the same page and acts a certain way. And just like a movie or script, certain things are never supposed to happen to those types of people. That's why they get shocked when shit like that happens to them. And then they start blaming themselves and thinking to themselves, why me? Why me? Did I do something wrong? Am I dirty? Am I a slut? Did I invite that sort of attention if they were to get raped or something? That's why a lot of those people end up confused and traumatized, feeding that loose negative energy to them archons. Because they never really knew who they were beyond the archon matrix value system in the first place. And that's why I say I've come a long way and I feel extremely fucking wealthy. I feel incredibly blessed and happy tonight because I know myself and I'm comfortable with myself and I'm comfortable with where I'm at right now. This is where I'm supposed to be. Not, I had assholes in the past. I had to cut them fucking people off who in a way were trying to side-eye me and throw little slick-ass remarks talking about, oh, your situation because it's not conforming. One of them who was saying that, I went on his Facebook, I saw nothing but MK Ultra. He was sitting on some rabbit's lap that looked creepy as fuck. As a matter of fact, that rabbit looked exactly like the rabbit that was used in Stone Temple Pilots video. Not Interstate Love Song, but it was Sour Girl with them creepy ass sex rabbits. He was sitting on that thing's lap. So that was MK Ultra right there. That's why I say I got to be very careful. Since my intuitive senses are heightened, I know how to filter out and accept and deem who is okay and kosher to be around me and who ain't. But again, I feel like I've come a long way in terms of knowing myself and finding out who I am and why I'm in the world. That's why I kind of appreciate a lot of shit that's done happened to me, because it's helped me realize who I am and why I'm in the world and what's my true divine purpose. My main, purpose for being here. I was never meant to be no fucking Norp and follow along. I'm a system buster. Follow along the lines of everybody else. I was never meant to do that shit. Have kids, just die out. That's one way in which they get system busters too, is by burdening you down with fucking kids. They call it love bites, trying to get somebody close to you. That motherfucker that had attacked me, he in a very loose, pitiful ass way tried to do it. Even though it was funny, I didn't sense anything sexual. It was just like, I felt like he was just being piloted by reptilians. But anyways, they do shit like that to try to throw you off course. And I'm too strong for it. Like I said, I felt energized after that incident. I felt strong. Very strong. I can't explain it. I can't put my finger on it. My intuitive abilities are becoming a lot more heightened. I'm becoming a lot more sensitive. Psychically, just inclined. And in all honesty, that's where I feel blessed. That's all I ever wanted was to know my purpose in the world, my calling for being here. That's something that most people never find out, because they never get that fucking deep. They never even get to the point where they can really truly know themselves beyond what society defines them to be. That's why I can walk away from material shit. Shit don't bother me. I know I've grown as a result of all my experiences. This ain't no sappy ass, well, What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You have to have an understanding of things so that you can become stronger and grow from adverse experiences like that. Don't let it, it's more than just don't let it bog you down superficially on the surface. It's having an understanding and overstanding of everything that's going on and why it's happening to you. And I have that, and I feel blessed for that. I mean, to be able to understand, overstand why your enemies are coming after you, I take it as a compliment. It's the biggest fucking compliment in the world. More so than that superficial ass congenial bullshit of, oh, I like your looks, oh, I like your eyes. Them fake ass blue contacts I used to sport back in the fucking day. Fuck you ass. Get the fuck away from me. Superficial shit like that. It's nice to be truly in a place where you're comfortable with yourself. And you're comfortable in your own shoes. And you ain't got nothing, nothing in your soul, nothing to hide, because you've done explored the inner recesses of yourself. That's what I've done a lot of shadow work on myself. I know myself very well, the ins and outs. If something bothers me, I confront it. I don't just throw it into the work like Veritas did and deny it. That's why she has a lot of out-of-body experiences. Because when you go through a lot of trauma, that's how you can induce it. It's through trauma. When you've never dealt with a situation adequately. Because she told me she had to have amethyst rocks and all that shit around her to keep her grounded from leaving her body. That said, I really appreciate the fact that I know me. And I feel very blessed and very wealthy as a result.